Hey, everybody, welcome. This is Joyce at Medusa Was Framed, and I am here once again with my very dear beloved friend, Andrew Zebrun III. Andrew.
Hi Joyce. Hi guys. How you doing tonight? Hope you're all doing well.
We are very pleased to have you with us, my followers and subscribers, Andrew's followers and subscribers. We have some of the same, including the lovely Graciel, who also lives in the Buffalo area, which is where Andrew lives. And this video that we are discussing tonight is at the request, behest, and through the shared photographs from the lovely Graciel. This is a photo that she took of a Baptist church in the Buffalo area. She sent me some photos and asked me if I would look into them. Hello, Graciel, my dear. She learned about my channel from watching Andrew and his generously sharing my info and such. And now she's a subscriber for both of us. And this is the second video of mine that she has had a part in because she has sent photos and suggestions. The first one was the video that I did about the engineer birdsill holly, part of the Erie Canal system was in Lockport and the very famous Flight of 5 locks. She sent me some photos because it's in her and Andrew's backyard. She sent me some photos, and that was the first one. And then she sent me these photos of this church that you're seeing right here, the First Baptist Church of Clarence, New York. This is the thumbnail from the video that I did a few days ago about what I discovered. She sent me the photos and said, hey, this looks like a Tartarian church to me. Can you find out a little more information? And thus the video was born. Andrew, do you recognize this church?
Yes, I've been by it. And Clarence is the antiquing capital of Western New York. For people that don't know it, there's a place called Antique World there, and they have outdoor antique sales and rummage sales and whatever you name it. They have all them little stalls where people have their wares, like little garages. Like it's like a storage area that was built for storage. Only people sell antiques out of it, and that's in Clarence, New York. It's really interesting place. I used to drive a wheelchair van, and I was always going out that way. I was one of the few people who knew where they were going, so they could send me out into the hinterlands, and I would actually come back.
The hinterlands. I have in 4 or 5 slides from here, I actually have a map that shows Clarence's relativity to Buffalo. So if you guys hang tight, you'll see. Now, this church was really mysterious. I've done a lot of research on churches. If you guys have been following my channel, you know that's something that I've done several videos about. And I have never found nothing when I looked up a church. But when I looked up this church, I found nothing. All that you can find about this church is their Facebook page. And it's all modern contemporary stuff, services and that type of thing. They have a website, but when you click on the website, it goes to a church in Massachusetts. Well, this is not in Massachusetts, it's in Western New York. Interesting. So there are no pictures of the inside. Graciel didn't go inside, but we can certainly talk about what we see from the outside. So Tartarian 101, for those of you that don't know, none of these originally would have had glass in them. This is a cymatic feature. I don't know if there's a pipe organ in it still, but there would have been something like a pipe organ or the such inside. And this was a cymatic resonator, so the sound would have come out through channels cymatically designed to create a certain frequency pattern. Same with these. These would not have had glass in them. This would have been a bell tower. This would have been open. This was not round for random reasons. It was round for a cymatic resonating feature. This would have been opened. There would have been a bell in here. There is a spire that would have been an ether collector. Over here, it looks like it might have been a chimney, but you see these here would have been open. Most chimneys back then were not coal or smoke burning. They would have actually been radion. So a resonant absorbing chimney of sorts. And the bricks, well, bricks are batteries. And the doors are unusually high because, well, our Moorish ancestors would have been taller. And there are bricks all over the Great Lakes, mysteriously, aren't there, Andrew?
Yeah, my creek is full of bricks too, the Eternal Flame Falls Creek. But there's a brick factory. It used to be right next to the creek, so
I'm doing a series on the Great Lakes. And of course, the last one that I did on Lake Erie, Andrew, of course, had a lot of really valuable stuff to say since he's lived on Lake Erie his whole life. But all of the Great Lakes are full of bricks, which makes you wonder, well, were there buildings that were built of brick that were destroyed? Were there roads that were paved in brick, like the serpentine brick that has paved ancient Greek, not Greek, Roman roads that were torn up and thrown into the lake? It makes you wonder. It makes you wonder. There's another shot of the First Baptist Church. You see the doors are quite large because, well, there were giants that walked the earth. We've got the bell tower here. We have what could have been a radion chimney here. And we've got either, well, if it was 8, it was being octagon. If it's 6, what would it be, Andrew? Septagon?
Septagon.
Septagon?
Yeah,
So,
septagon.
and then it has some kind of metal roof. It would have also had a spire. And of course, these were all resonating windows. These would not have had glass.
Did you want to make some of those a little bigger? Because all we can see is the little ones.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't see that. That's good you told me that. Let's see. I'm glad you told me that. Let's see how. From share, I don't know how to make it bigger.
Well, it's not a big deal if you can't do it.
Do you see it now?
All we getting is thumbnails.
Oh. Oh, interesting. I don't know how to make it bigger from here.
That's all right.
Well, I wonder, should I just, is that one small too?
They're just thumbnails, Joyce. That's all you're putting up.
I wonder, should I go out and start over?
No. People can just refer to your past video for that.
Okay. Yeah, well, I have a lot of pictures to share and I hate that they're all going to be small. Let me stop the share and start over
Okay.
because I don't know why
You
that's.
can pause it.
No, let me stop the share and start over.
You can pause it, you know.
Let me start over.
Because if you stop, you're gonna have to join the videos.
I stopped the share.
You paused it, right?
Now, what do you see now?
It says you're recording. I still see thumbnails.
I don't know what to do. Anyway, well, I'm sorry. So these are pictures of the church. Interestingly, what I found, as I said, is there's nothing about this church at all. And the website that they have goes to another church altogether. So that started me looking at other things. There's another shot of the church. And you can see the mud flood qualities, right? There's a ramp up to the doors that are quite large. This is all indicative of mud flood. And that septagon, as opposed to octagon, that being a resonating chamber in itself. And of course, the bricks were all batteries. There you can see that being built up, right?
Yeah.
So this is Asa Ramsen, who is attributed with being the person that started the town in 1802. I'm going to stop this here. I'm going to stop my share. Andrew, I'm going to let you talk for a while, and you do your share and see if we can figure out this sharing issue.
Okay. Hang on 1 second. I'll do the share right now. Got your video up. I gotta take.
I could tell by the music.
I gotta take the volume off. I took the volume off so people can see these beautiful pictures you're talking about here. And I'll just go to the beginning. This is the caves, the Lockport Caves.
Yes, that Graciel helped with.
And there's the church.
Yeah.
And this is the window you were talking about?
Yeah, the resonator. Yeah, the main resonator. They were all would have been resonators, but that's the main cymatic resonator. So none of those would have had glass in them.
These churches are interesting. Really, really, if you look at them, I mean, look at the chimney on this thing. I had to put a roof on a church like this in Buffalo once. It was horrific. We had to use 40-foot ladders, and they barely made it to the eave of the church. And then when I got to the top of the ladder, I had a bundle on my shoulder. I had to let go of the ladder and then reach up over the gutter to get to the next part and then throw the shingles up there. My God, was that a horrendous job. I carried 3 pallets of
Oh my God.
shingles up there that way. And you would not believe the view when you got up there. The ladder was bowed. So the part you were on was straight up and down. And then you look down and then it's bowed out because they were wood ladders, you know?
Right.
Weird. It was awful working on a church like that. So I can say from experience that putting a roof on something like this is a monster job. And I watched the guys do the spire. I had no part of the spire at all. A guy, somehow they got up there and tied a rope off on the top of the spire. And then the guy that roofed it hung off of that rope and he went down a little at a time. or did he go? Yeah, he went down a little at a time, roofing it as he went, and he was swinging around on this rope that was on his butt.
Hell no.
It was like, I could not believe what I was witnessing. I saw things on that job I really would like to forget. But it was interesting working on an old building like that. I don't know. There's something to these buildings, Joyce. What it is, I don't know. But look at it. They don't build like this at all anymore.
No, because it all had a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
They were batteries. The bricks are batteries. They hold energy. They hold heat. There'd be a combination of copper and brick, so the iron in the brick, and copper. You see that what do you call it? That septagon. Oftentimes it's an octagon. 8 sides would have a copper top. That one probably had a copper top at one point. Think of a battery and like the positive and negative sides of the battery.
Mm-hmm. You know, my cousin used to be married to a guy that was a stonemason from the old world.
Mm.
His name was Joe Gallitzer, and he's the one that did the restoration out at Grey Cliff.
Oh,
the Frank Lloyd Wright home. And I wish he was around today because he would be an interesting person to talk to after knowing what I know now.
Yep.
As a kid, I watched him do stonework on Grey Cliff itself because,
Really?
yeah, they had to hire somebody who knew how it was put together in the place. So they had to get somebody like him.
Right, right.
You know what I'm saying? Because he was trained in stonemasonry from Hungary. He was Hungarian. His name was Joe Gallitzer. And I wish he was around, but you know what happened to him? He did brickwork and stonework his entire life, and he died on the job.
Oh,
He was working on a brick thing that fell on him, like this is crumbling.
oh yeah.
He was working on it all by himself, and it fell on him and buried him alive.
Hmm. Can you back up, I think, two, maybe three slides?
Sure.
Back up to the Moor, the statue of the Moor. Oh,
This one?
no,
Oh, the statue?
the statue.
Not sure where it
Oh,
was.
went too far.
I hit it by mistake, so I don't know where it is, Joyce. I hit it by accident.
That's all right.
There he
I
is.
don't know. There, her. So this is a statue in Germany. This is the actual video that Andrew is showing you. All the pictures that I have, but for some reason my pictures are staying small. So thank you, Andrew. So we're talking about Clarence, New York, which is east of Buffalo. Is it east and north?
Yeah.
East and north of Buffalo, which is right on Lake Erie. About, is it like a half an hour?
Yeah.
Okay. And now it's really interesting because something that I learned, and these are the weird things you don't think about, Clarence was like the first major European settlement in Western New York.
Mm-hmm.
Started in 1802. And what is now Buffalo was part of the land, the settlement, the purchase that started in Clarence. So Clarence is where everything started. And German, not English, was the first language that was spoken in Clarence. And we see that there are these Black Moorish statues all over Germany, not just Germany. And we'll find out why that's significant. Of course, there are people that say Tartaria, and then there are people that talk about the Moors and Moorish architecture and Moorish development. Well, the Moors were black skinned, dark skinned, and there were Moors in Germany. In fact, Benjamin Franklin wrote a whole book about the Black Moors of Germany. And here we have a statue, I think it's in Cologne,
Mm-hmm.
of this Black Moorish, I don't know, heralded something. But it's interesting that this little town that was on the river that came to be called Ransom Creek after Asa Ramsen was the beginning of everything. So this whole Black Moor thing will make more sense as we progress. So there were Black Moors in the part of New York that was subdivided then into Buffalo before Buffalo came into existence. So just think about that.
Yes, and there was a German American bank in Buffalo at one time. I saw the sign on a building. I don't know if it's still there or not, but I remember seeing it years ago. For
I
some
hope,
reason, that German American bank stuck in my head.
I hope the building's still there. I'm sorry, would you advance now? I don't think
Sure.
I think you've got the advancement. So, oh, I was just going to say in the one, Clarence is named after this carriage, which was called a Clarence carriage, that was designed by someone in the Dukedom of Clarence. And I don't know how to talk about these things, but there are specificities about this carriage that make it a Clarence. And that apparently is from the royal family, the British royal family. That's where the name of the town came from.
Mm. You know, curiously, I had a small lantern like this to be mounted in an old car or carriage or something like that.
Oh
And
yeah?
yeah, it was not a candle one. It was electric. And
Mm.
it was the modern base that we use now, only this thing was old, Joyce. I wish I had kept it now because it was so interesting, but I'm sure somebody bought it for like a rat rod or something.
Mm.
It was perfect little glass thing like this, only smaller, about half the size or a third of the size. And it held a little electric bulb,
Wow.
which I find interesting now. I didn't know none of this stuff that I know now.
Right, right, right. Yeah, the things we all found when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the, what do you call it? The city, what do you call it? The city logo or whatever?
The yeah, the heraldry page. I don't know. The
Whatever.
herald
That's the city logo.
yeah, the
Whatever
heraldry
you
art.
call it.
The heraldry art.
And then let's see what's next. So the origin of the region, not just Clarence, but the entire region, which was a purchase was a still full of gypsum and potash brick kilns. So again, the brick thing, there's bricks everywhere, bricks everywhere. Now here we've got, interestingly enough, so we talked about um, the beginnings of Western New York were started in this town that we now call Clarence. It was called Ransom Creek, I believe, initially, after Asa Ramsen, the first settler, cough, cough. The first carousel, according to the resources I found, the first carousel that was brought into the United States was brought into Clarence by two German brothers who immigrated there in the 1870s. Well, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? More antiquitech and technology from Germany.
Yeah.
That's not the carousel, by the way. The carousel supposedly, parts of the carousel and some of the horses of this mentioned carousel supposedly exist at the Ringling Brothers Museum in Sarasota, Florida, the Circus Museum in Sarasota, Florida. But that is not a picture of that particular carousel. It's just a picture that I used. It's hard to believe. I mean, you look at this stuff, you can't, you guys can't really believe, you can't possibly believe that all this money was spent for something for children. You can't believe that. You can't. You've got to be kidding me. All this money and technology created for something for kids? There's no way. There's no way. It was something else. It had another purpose. Like so many of the rides that are repurposed rides at so many of these early amusement parks, they're all different kinds of found technology that we call antiquitech that were turned into rides because the people that found them didn't understand how to use them. And I believe that carousels were the same. Yes, I believe that the horses were carved by the German and Italian artists attributed with carving the horses. But the whole concept of this spinning wheel under what is usually an octagon dome, I don't believe that it was created as a ride. I think it was antiquitech. It had another purpose. It was some kind of generator. A lot of those early spinning around rides, if you look at them from the air, from aerial views, they look just like water treatment plants. And that's not a theory that I came up with. That's a common theory that has been proposed by several people, autodidactic, Michelle Gibson, many, many people, that all these reset period, turn of the century, ornate amusement parks were water treatment plants or generators of some kind that were discovered, people didn't know how to use the technology, so they turned them into anything that they could do to make money off of them, which was an amusement park.
It's interesting because Buffalo used to have a big ride maker. Herschel, the Herschel factory was in Buffalo, and I used to own a sales program from the Herschel factory, and I donated it back to the Herschel Museum, which is in North Tonawanda, New York. But that's an interesting subject. All of those parks were on water, weren't they, Joyce?
Yes, or at the end, on water, and or at the end of a ferry line, a streetcar line. Many were on water, yes. Not necessarily something like the Great Lakes necessarily, but water. I mean, the one closest to me here in Jacksonville, Florida, that I did a video about was on the biggest river, still the biggest river in the region, the St. Johns River. It was called Dixieland. And the rides were definitely some of this. The rides were ridiculous. They were so obviously different kinds of technology. Or even the video that I did about the 1901 exhibition that we did one of these deep dive reviews on. Some of those rides were so obviously not created as rides. They were some kind of very sophisticated technology that the people that found them had no idea how to use, including the cycloramas. Those cycloramas, are you kidding me?
Yeah, they're bizarre. I've been in one.
Do you want to scoot on to the next one?
Sure. There's a cyclorama in Buffalo I was in. They turned it into a court building at one time, but
Is
it's
it
not
still there?
Yeah, but it's not a court building anymore.
Oh, so here I'm just making comment of, so the first carousel, which I spoke about, is attributed to coming over from German immigrants. And then we're seeing here, well, German immigrants brought all kinds of things. Of course, on the left, that's a Tesla tower. He wasn't German, he was Serbian, but nonetheless. Also coming over with the German immigrants was the heritage of the Black Moorish technology, which then you see on the right. Saying German immigrant does not necessarily mean a Caucasian toned person.
Yes, I've heard that all of the rulers of Europe actually had Moors behind them who were their bosses, and the white people were put out as the front, so to take the like the whipping boys,
Mm.
That's a theory.
No, but it makes a lot of sense. And then this is an old carousel. I don't know where this is exactly, but I used it as an example to show that to think that all these very ornate, that's the video I did about the World's Fair. Can you stop it for a second?
Sure.
That's the video I did about the World's Fair in Buffalo, which is in Andrew's backyard. And then after I did that video about the architects that were involved, Andrew and I got together and did one of these, and we went through it basically building by building. And he shared growing up in Buffalo and the buildings that are left, he shared what he had to say about that. But the photo that's 3 or 4 photos back about the very ornate carousel was just an illustration of, if you think that someone actually sat down and built all of that just to be a kid's ride, I've got a bridge to sell you. There's no way. That was there. It was Antiquitech. It served another purpose, but it was changed just the way all the buildings that were in Buffalo at what became the Pan American, those buildings were there.
Yeah, and if anybody's skeptical, just look at old buildings and look at modern buildings. I mean, there's just no comparison, Because I've worked in old buildings. They are so well made.
Pause this one here. Pause this one.
Okay. I worked in an old building in Detroit, Joyce. We were making smaller offices in it.
Oh,
It was so well
Detroit.
made, you would not believe how well made that building was. It was a shame to tear it apart the way they did.
Well, yeah. So you guys, look at this. Look at the scale of this. There's a freighter. Look at the size of the building dwarfing the freighter. Look at the people. There's people standing down there on the dock. Look at that. I doubt that that's still standing, but Andrew, that's Buffalo on the docks somewhere.
Yeah,
I
th-
doubt that that's still standing.
it might be. A lot of them are still standing. They were too big. They're too big and heavy to tear down, Joyce.
Well, they tore down the Larkin building,
Yeah, yeah, they did. These buildings are way bigger though.
but
These grain mills are way bigger.
the point that I'm trying to make in this video is that so Buffalo was part of the original land purchase from the Holland Land Company that was originally ceded by Germans. Well, gosh, no, that's not what they say. German was the first language that was spoken there, and yet they say the first person to establish it was Asa Ramsen, who apparently moved there from Connecticut, but his folks are from Britain. And both Asa as a first name and Ransom as a last name are of British heritage. But isn't it interesting that the people that made up the mass of the region that now included Buffalo were German speaking? And we know that, as we're saying, the Black German Moors, who were great designers and architects, could they have been part of the people that were here? Did they build some of this? Did their ancestors build this? Do we believe history the way it's told? I certainly don't. I do not believe, Andrew, that that building was created in an area that was basically undeveloped and still wild marshland on Lake Erie in 1825. I don't believe that.
Yeah, there's something strange going on because my father found bottles, you know, that were buried underground, and it's supposedly they were from a canal that got filled in. But these bottles are from the like before, right around the time of the canal being built. So it's just weird that he found so many bottles dumped in one area. They were building Route 190 when he found them, and they were just digging them out of the ground with an earth moving machine, and they were just dumping them. It was just crap to them, and he gathered them up and sold them to the local historical society for $100. And now they use them as when they show historic scenes of the Erie Canal. They use my father's bottles.
Oh, wow.
They told me, I wrote to them in the 90s to ask them about them, and they found the original paperwork and the receipt where they paid him $100.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting story. I have the newspaper clipping of it too.
Well, and then behind the freighter, there's a steam bridge. Well, that's a steam bridge. And
Yeah.
we're supposed to believe that all the use of steam as we know it is attributable to Birdsell Hawley Jr., who I did a video on, thanks to Graciel, and to you, Andrew. You had a big part of that video as well. Birdsell Hawley Jr., this punk that came out of nowhere and had no formal training, was able to design all this unbelievable steam technology. So you think that something like the sophistication of the design of that steam drawbridge, well, that's not a drawbridge, what do you call it? But that's a steam bridge.
Yeah, it's a drawbridge.
You call that a drawbridge too,
Yeah.
even though it lifts like that? Okay,
It's
so
a lift bridge, drawbridge, same thing.
a steam bridge, all that sophistication, all the technology to create the steel. How did all of this, how did, to build the foundries to create that steel?
Yeah, and that's before Bethlehem Steel was built.
Right. 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 I was looking into that. That whole part of the beach that Bethlehem Steel, because you were talking about that. I was going to do a video on it, and then it was just like I didn't feel that there was enough to do one on. But you were talking about that bridge, that stretch of beach
Hmm.
that used to have a huge amusement park.
Yeah, Woodlawn.
Woodlawn, right. And then Bethlehem Steel, well, a whole bunch of things happened. The economy changed and they closed it. But apparently there were trains that were running from Buffalo and there were ferries that were running from Buffalo like 3 times a day. This
Hmm.
place was so popular in the 1800s. And then things changed. Bethlehem Steel bought it and basically turned the beach into a slag dump.
Hmm.
But the point is, this was all before Bethlehem Steel was there, and or you don't just build a steel factory and start busting out sophistication and have the workers who understand how to create these things in less than, I don't know, 10, 15 years. I mean, how long does it take to build a factory? And then you have to get the people that know how to do it. Well, if they've never worked with steel before, you think they're just going to know? I mean, for people to think that all this story that history tells us is true, again, I've got a bridge to sell you if you believe that.
It's all so strange.
Yeah. You want to scoot to the next one?
Sure. I've been trying to figure out Buffalo.
This is Buffalo too. And then, so we're looking at these magnificent buildings with all this terracotta, all these resonating capacitors up on the top. And if that isn't enough, we were just talking about steel. Oh yeah, the whole railway thing just happened with steel and steam in less than 10 years. Yeah, no. When the rest of the world is running around in horse-drawn carriages, we're supposed to believe.
Hey, did you catch in one of my shows recently where all of the cars for the Orient Express were built in Philadelphia?
Yes, I did see that.
I was amazed to learn that.
I didn't know that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you can scoot to the next one.
Okay, sure.
And just, and this was such a good idea to do this because I don't know why my pictures aren't showing up right. But this was a good idea. So now, okay, so now we're going to go back to Clarence. Um, so this is Asa Ramsen. He was a colonel in the Revolutionary War. He is attributed with being the man who settled the town of Clarence, which at the time was called Clarence Mill or Clarence Creek or something like that. I mean, the body of water that runs through Clarence, and Andrew, you correct me, I think is still called Clarence Creek or Clarence.
I'm not sure, but there's an old red mill there.
Yeah, or not, no, it's called Ransom Creek or Ransom River or something. Yes, Red Mill. I've got a picture of the Red Mill. But this is the guy who has supposedly started everything. This punk right here.
Yes. The Buffalo News always made a big deal of this guy, and they're always showing the Asa Ransom house all the time.
The Asa Ramsen house still exists. It's a snazzy bed and breakfast that has very mixed reviews, but it seems to be kind of like the main draw to Clarence, the house that he built and lived in with his family, and more to come. Could you scoot?
Sure. I've never been there, but I know where it is. I've been by it a lot. I used to collect toys, so I've been out to Clarence a lot to do stuff like that, to collect toys. I had a huge collection one time, Joyce. I filled up a 3-room house. I mean, a 3-level house with toys.
Holy cow.
And then I had to move them to a house that was so much smaller. I had to sell them all, and I sold them all in one night for $12,000.
Oh my God, Andrew.
I had a giant auction in the '90s, and I found most of these toys at garage sales and stuff. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, you can advance it because there's little things that I've written here in the video. He was a colonel in the Revolutionary War, and he is the guy who apparently got the first land grant from the Holland Land Company. Remember, New York was Dutch before it was English.
Now,
So they told him, they said, okay, we're going to grant you this land. We want you to build 2 mills and a tavern.
Uh-huh.
A tavern. A tavern. I understand mills because they want to develop the area, but they wanted him to build a tavern. A tavern? There was nobody there. There were indigenous people there. But build a tavern.
Mm.
Hmm.
Was that the same guy that was governor of Canada, Ontario, Holland, Samuel Holland?
I don't know. No. Holland, like, I think Holland, like Dutch.
Yeah, but it's the Holland Land Company. There was a guy named Samuel Holland,
Well, it could be. I don't know.
governor of Canada at one time.
I don't know. That's a good question. I'll let you look that up.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that.
So this was Ransom's first mill. And, Andrew, is that part of the Niagara Escarpment?
No,
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 that those falls would not be part of that?
no. It's not north far. It's not far enough north, Joy.
Okay. But there are falls.
Yeah, there's falls there.
Okay.
I don't
So,
think that's the escarpment. You got to go a little north for that.
okay.
That- The,
Well,
the escarpment's up in Lockport.
oh, okay. It's not okay. And this is where Colonel Ramson's buried with his family. Everything is ransom, ransom this, ransom that, ransom street. Kind of like how in St. Augustine, everything is Ponce de Leon. Now, this is very interesting. I'm going to let people read this because this is very interesting. Okay, Asa Ransom's second daughter was born at the home there in Clarence, New York, which was then called Ransom Hollow. His first daughter was born back in Connecticut. Okay, advance.
Okay.
This is important. A great deal of hoopla is made establishing the fact that his second daughter was the first white child born in Western New York.
Hmm. What a claim that is.
The first white child. Well,
And they were making this in the early 1800s, this claim?
1802,
Wow.
the first white child. So what does that mean? So who was there? So why did the Holland Land Company ask them to build 2 mills and a tavern? The first white child.
That's funny. Yeah,
White.
that's a
How do
good
you
question.
define white? So who could have been there? Well, we know the Dutch were there. The Dutch were there. They were already there. Weren't the Dutch white, Andrew?
Yeah. I think there was more white people running around Western New York before that. It's strange.
Well, but so this is either total horse manure, built, designed to, create yet another fabrication upon fabrication to make you interested in this little town and whatever tourist attraction value it has. But I mean, I read several things and they say the first white child born in Western New York was Asa Ramsen's second daughter.
That's interesting. Have you looked at that book I told you about? Historical Collections of the State of New York by John Barber and Henry Howe?
I haven't. No.
Because that has a Clarence section in it.
Mm.
And I have 3 copies of that book, but it's available online for free. You can look at it.
So this is the statement they're making.
Mm-hmm.
So then I go on to ask the question, advance please.
Sure.
Who are we distinguishing being white from? Are we distinguishing it from the indigenous people, the Erie people that were there? Right?
Mm-hmm. They're the Seneca now. But there was the Erie, though. This is an important distinction. People got to know that the Seneca displaced the Erie, did they not?
That's my understanding, yeah. And Erie, what we call Erie, that's not, I don't know how to say the actual word. I have it copied and pasted in the video, but it's a long word and Erie is part of it.
Right. And I'm not sure if the people that are around here are still related to those Erie people, because from my studies of Western New York, the Seneca totally replaced the Erie.
Well, but Nat, you'll correct me. These are your people. So I can talk about the Timucua and the Seminole because that's where I am. You can talk about these people because this is where you are. But wasn't there a whole bunch of feuding going on between the Algonquin nations and the Iroquois nations, right?
Well, Yeah, the native populations never got along. They always fought each other. That's why the Seneca replaced the Erie, probably through war.
So I think the Seneca were part of the Algonquin Nation and the Erie were part of the Iroquois Nation.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of what I'm saying. And I guess it would depend on where. Like the Erie were all around Lake Erie, so they were in Canada too,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the Seneca were, well, anyway, yeah. So, but the point is, when they say she was the first white child, who are they distinguishing her from? Are they distinguishing her from these people? The Nation de Chat, the I can't say the whole long word, but we call Erie. Are we distinguishing from these people or advance, Andrew, please?
Okay.
Are we when they say first white child, are distinguishing from these people?
It's funny. One of my ancestors.
Or from these people? The
One of my
German
ancestors
Black Moors, because the German Black Moors were already there.
could be. I have both ancestry in my bloodline. I have Native American through I have a great grandmother from Michigan called American Proudfoot was her name. And then I have relatives from Pennsylvania who were Pennsylvania Dutch.
But so I pose the question, when they say first white child and like they make a big deal out of it, who are they distinguishing this white child from? The indigenous people who we know had darker skin than you and I do, right? You're Russian and I'm basically Northern European mutt, right? So distinguishing her, if you read the books, the British, her father and her mother were both of British descent. So are we distinguishing her from the Black Moors of Germany or from the indigenous people, both of which had darker skin? Which is it? Well, I'll let people decide. It just makes you think when you start to think. Go ahead and scoot forward.
There's so much to think about in Clarence too. Flight 3407 went down in Clarence.
Yes. I didn't touch on that because it didn't really have anything to do with what I was trying to present, but yes. So this is from actually from Wisconsin, but these are buildings that were built by the Waukesha Moors in Wisconsin. These were the spas, basically built on hot springs where you would go for mud treatments and sulfur water treatments in Waukesha. Waukesha Moors. The picture that was right before this is a picture of a Waukesha Moor. So these are very ancient structures in Wisconsin. And so I'm saying the Waukesha Moor, who were all over the United States, and what remains of them still is all over the United States, mostly left in this kind of brickwork, including those brick kilns that we saw originally. They were very versed in the use of hydropower for electricity, and they used bricks to do it. Well, gosh, we're in Erie County, aren't we? What is Erie County's most famous thing? Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls. Well, no, Niagara Falls is in Niagara County choice.
Well, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Understand what I'm saying.
Western New York. Yeah, they do call it Buffalo Niagara.
Using hydropower for electricity. That's what Tesla is noted for doing. Well,
yes,
it was done before Tesla was there, but we won't go down that road right now.
It could be because when I was a kid, they took us up to visit the first power plant that's right at Niagara Falls in Canada, but they didn't mention Tesla. They only talked about Westinghouse.
Westinghouse, yeah.
Yeah, they only talked about him and Edison.
Well, Edison's a pig. Go ahead and scoot.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Ah, that's okay.
Move that up. Where were we? We were right here.
Yep, good. Okay. And I think we have just another. Okay, so I'm saying the proliferation of red brick work is a Waukesha Moor thing. Well, this is in Buffalo. Look at that brickwork. and look at the copper that's fused with the brickwork, which is part of the electrical power system.
Mm.
And all of those spires, that's part of the plasma collection. So this building's a big battery.
Yeah, there's a lot of copper up here, and the rest of this roofing is slate.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, so
Okay.
this is all stone and metal right here.
Battery. It's a battery. The free energy system that existed before everybody, including Tesla.
Yeah, there's got to be something to that. The way
Part of
that,
the reset. Part of the reset.
Mhm.
And then there's the church again, the church that we started, the church that brought us down this discussion, all this red brickwork. They're also, the Waukesha Moors have also been referred to as the swarthy Palatines. So now these are some pictures of contemporary and anyway, buildings in Clarence. So here's another church in Clarence, very clearly a resonating. Look at that antiquitech, that spire, right? Mud flood evidence too. Look at that. That's crazy. Now you can talk a lot about terracotta, Andrew. You have a lot to say about terracotta. If that isn't mud flood, you got to be freaking kidding me. Look at the side of the building. In close to the image, close to the street, the grass comes right up to the window. And then as you walk back down, it's several feet below the window. And then if you look at the front of the building, they had to build steps up to the door. Well, what's up with that? Right? Mud flood, hello. But what do you want to say about terracotta?
Yeah, I think this is precast concrete, but terracotta is such a strange thing. They used it so much, and some of those pictures that you show me from down there, I can't believe the size of the pieces of terracotta they make.
Down here in Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
all
mean,
the crap attributed to Flagler? Not.
yeah. It's like
Not.
the size of them pieces, some of them are 9, 10 feet tall. I mean, just think of the size of the kiln they would have to put that in.
Right. Well, even if that is precast concrete, and of course you would know better than I.
Well,
I
that's what
saw
it
that
looks
and I
like.
thought it was terracotta. Is concrete and terracotta, concrete and brick. That was part of the Moorish Tartarian energy building system. So again, this building was part of the power grid.
Is this some kind of secret society building, I think?
It says antiques. You see that shingle?
I
It
see
says
that, but
antiques.
I
I
see
don't
that, but
know. I don't know what that is. Yeah, there's definitely something there.
there's something over here. I think this is an old elk lodge, don't you think?
It kind of looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Which makes it all the more suspicious.
Yeah, because them secret societies are weird. I don't really want to get too far into it, but I see them having very strange participants.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
That's all I really want to say about it right now.
Right. Now, this is interesting. Pause this here. So in the video that I did and Andrew and I reviewed about the 1901 Buffalo World's Fair, Eisenfein and Johnson were an architectural firm. Mr. Eisenfein was from Germany. He was from Germany. And Mr. Johnson was from England. And they are an architectural firm in Buffalo that were attributed with building 2 of the buildings at the Buffalo World's Fair. Of course, they didn't build them. All the buildings were there. Any of the architects involved in that, what they did is they snazzied things up, but they didn't build those buildings. The buildings were there. But Eisenfein and Johnson were attributed with building 2. And I think one of their buildings, Andrew, was the Temple of Music.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. Now, this is in Clarence, and I believe this still stands because it's a museum now. You see how it says doors open. This is, and see how the ramps are? That looks mud flood too. This is the Clarence Automobile Club. Well, this was like the beginning of what became AAA.
Really?
Yeah. And Eisenfein and Johnson built it. So they say.
No kidding.
Look at all that stonework.
Yeah.
You know, and those columns are all power generators. They would all have basically copper wiring and rods in them to be power generators. With that stone, that building would have been smart originally,
Mm-hmm.
self-sustaining. Look at the windows over the door to the right.
Mm.
But what do we know about the music building at the World's Fair in Buffalo? It was the last building to go down, and it had in it, at the time, the largest organ, the largest pipe organ in the United States. The pipe organ that ended up at, what is the place in Buffalo? Key, starts with a K. Kiefer Hall?
Kiefer Hall?
Starts with a K. Where the organ ended up.
I'm not sure where that is.
It's like the building is round and it's a music building, and I think it starts with a K. I can't remember what it's called.
I can't either.
That's where the organ ended up. But it was the last building to be torn down because it had this unbelievably beautiful domed window. But you know, it's just keeping everything in the family here. I mean, what else do we know about cars and Buffalo?
Pierce Arrow.
Pierce Arrow. Yes. And AAA starts in the area. Well, what does that tell you? So apparently, when these automobile car halls started, it was like not everybody had a car, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a car, if you're wealthy enough to have a car, and you go driving, well, if you drive from, I don't know where, to, you know, if you would plan a drive for the day or the weekend or whatever to another city that had an automobile club, and this was one of those automobile clubs, and you would arrive at the automobile club, and there were people that would take care of your car, and then you would go in and you would be served a meal, and there was pool and sports and all kinds of things, and you could spend the whole day at this automobile club, and you could even stay at the automobile club.
Wow. You know, I can add to that story. I used to have an old book I found. It was called an auto guest book, and it was blank. And on the last page, it gave a rundown of all the amounts of money you should pay to someone if you injure them with your auto. And the book was the whole reason for printing the book was so you could get people to sign your auto guest book for
That's goofy.
for the people that rode in your car, Joyce. Can you believe this? And
That's
like I
goofy
said,
as
on the
hell.
last page, it gave a rundown of injuries that you could possibly give someone with your auto, and whatever you did to them, if you made them lose a finger or whatever, you had to pay them a certain amount of money. And I think death was like $1,200.
That's goofy. So anyway, Eisenfein and Johnson, same architects. And if you watch my videos or you start snooping around, you're going to see the same architects doing the same stuff everywhere. Oh, all part of the reset. Can you scoot forward?
Sure.
So that's just saying, you know, at that was the video, my video about the World's Fair in Buffalo, and where I talk a good deal about their practice and their contribution. And then we've just got another building in Clarence.
This building's still there.
Is it?
Yes.
That's wonderful. Beautiful.
I go out there once in a while. See, there it is.
That's so Moorish.
It's still there. This is Clarence Center. It's called. That's where the plane landed, Flight 3407. It landed in Clarence Center. This is Clarence proper. Clarence Center is a little bit north of it.
That crazy spired church. Yeah, dissected Antiquitech. That would have had a huge spire on top.
Yeah, look at that spire.
Well, they jacked it up. They tore it down, and that's letting people know north and east of Buffalo.
Mhm. Yeah, Clarence Center is right about here. That's where the plane crashed. It was
Hmm.
coming into the Buffalo airport, which is right around here.
Oh,
I think this is the airport right here. Yeah, it is. But that was pretty sad. And I met somebody who owns a property where that landed. And he said it really freaked him out and the whole neighborhood. And I told him what happened. He did not know that a lady who was on that plane was leading the charge against Obama and leading the charge for the victims of 9/11. She wanted the truth to come out. They were trying to pair off to get her to shut up, but she was more interested in the truth, and she was on that plane.
so that's one of those stories.
Mhm.
I remember the story of that woman. I just didn't know where the plane went down. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I can show you guys. I got the meme right here. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I took it down. I didn't mean to do that. All right. Hi, I'm Beverly Eckert. My husband was killed during the 9/11 attacks. I rejected 1.8 million from the government and filed a lawsuit against them instead. I was a loudmouth and a well-known figure in the 9/11 truth movement. Coincidentally, days after the meeting President Obama, I died in a plane crash. And like I was saying, I met the guy where this plane landed, and he didn't know none of this stuff. He was, you should have seen his face, Joyce. And I don't even want to name who it is.
No, 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 don't.
I won't give out his name, but um surprising facts. You know, you run into people, it's weird. I'll go back to your thing now.
Well, but I mean, and that just touches on for people that still think that they can trust the government, they will drop a whole plane of people to take out one person. It's
They
not the
will.
first time. They would drop the whole World Trade Center in its freaking footprint
Yep.
to cover up all that money that
Yep.
Rumsfeld lost.
Mm-hmm. I remember that night. I'm way down here and I was scared of planes landing on my head that night.
Well, and they took down the whole Oklahoma City Fed building to cover up Hillary's BlackRock crap.
Yep.
But we're not supposed to believe any of that. God.
It's crazy. There's the old red mill.
Oh. So look at this. Look at the structure. Look at the design. Obviously, it's been refaced a bit, but the structure remains the same. The basic structure is original. It's been cleaned up. But look at this. This being part of Asa Ramsen's original constructions. So 1802, 18, say 1805. Okay. And then
Sweet baby, huh?
so something got out of place somehow.
Sorry. I went past
There,
it.
okay. So again, we're going back to that Waukesha Moore building. That's okay. But here, that's all right. But here I say, so okay, so we're talking about the first white baby, huh? First white baby, huh?
That's a club he's got in his hand. Isn't that a war tool?
I don't know.
Club? Yeah, that was a club. This thing here is a war tool. That's a club.
Okay, I don't know. I love that picture though. I've used it before. I love that picture. The Erie Canal video, I used that picture. I love that picture. And again, so there's Graciel's church, mud flood as hell. So did they ransom Asa? Was he ransomed? I don't know. So that's in Cologne, Germany. Look
Hey,
at that.
yeah. Look
Black
at that.
Moors.
Wow, that's not a white dude.
Nope.
Holy cow. You know, I have friends over in Germany. And in Switzerland, I've heard that they go out in their town and all they see is stuff that triggers them because they know what it looks like now. You know?
So, and then there's this. So if you don't believe that the Germans that came and built all this stuff were black, go ahead and hit play.
Yeah, that's really bizarre. The
This
only,
statue is in Belgium. That's not a white woman.
no.
And it was the Holland Land Company that had the first deed on the purchase that yelled at Asa Ramsen and said, "Hey, white boy, build a town." It was Black people.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like just what you said. Kind of like just what you said about how the Moors were in charge and they pushed the white boys forward to be the punching bags.
Yeah,
But
that's not my theory. I just heard that.
it was the Black Moors that were in the back running the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's somebody that pushes that theory. I can't remember the guy's name right now. It's
I
not
think
his real name. So I'm not
it's a
sure.
good theory. But
It is.
I'm just posing these things, I find these correlations and things, and boy, it's interesting, why in a land that was indigenous for the most part, and apparently a British gentleman and his wife, who was also British, they had lived in Connecticut, move over to settle the land, but all of a sudden everybody's speaking German. But all the people that seemed to be in positions of authority at the time in Germany and England were Black. Huh.
I made some memes about it, but it would take me a second to find them. I made some really good memes about it. Um, it's a great theory. I'm trying to remember the guy's name now.
Well,
I
there's so
looked
many
into.
people. Many people have touched on that. The whole. I mean, Michelle Gibson is someone who talks about that. Waukesha Moors, the Black Moors. That what we call Tartaria is Moorish, and in
Mhm.
some places you can see how obviously Arabic looking it is. There are buildings here in St. Augustine that are so obviously, um, Arabian looking, right?
Mhm.
And those people were Moors. They were Black Moors.
Yep, that's the story. I wish we could get more proof and stuff like that. It's so hard researching this stuff. They bury it, don't they?
Oh my God, there's nothing on that church at all.
Mm.
Nothing.
Here's those memes I made right
Oh,
here.
good. Good.
Here, here's one. I'll bring it right up. Were
Good.
they white or black? Now these are all.
We don't see it yet.
Look at. Here's Prince. Oh, wait a minute. You don't see it?
Uh-uh.
I thought you had it. Oh, I gotta share it. Let me share it.
Okay. I haven't touched share at all. Okay.
Can you see it now?
Football. They were white or black. Yes,
Were they
yes,
white or black? See, this
yes.
is King Charles. This is King Philip.
Yep,
King Philip the Third.
yep,
This is King Louis.
yep.
Give me a break, man. If this is true, we really need to know, don't you think?
Well, yes. And actually, I want to recommend to people a couple folks that they can learn a lot about from. Incredibly, now, if you guys just want to be entertained, you're going to hate these people, these content creators, because their research is astonishing. One is Dane Callaway. His channel is Dane Callaway. I'm just here to make you think. But he is what we would call a Black man. But his research for many years has been the premise that the concept of the East India Company bringing slaves from Africa is total bullcrap. It's part of the whole reset scenario. The Black folk were here. They were here. They were here first. They were the Moors. That the indigenous people were Black.
Mm-hmm.
The Black people were here.
Yep.
There were no slave boats. So that pisses a lot of people off, but his research is brilliant. And he goes into this topic Also, there is a Central American gentleman. I don't say his name correctly, but it's like Kuramea Ahu, Kuramiu Ahu. He's Costa Rican. He lives in Costa Rica. I think he affiliates himself with what we would call the Inca people. He calls himself Quiche.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he does all of this research into how the Black people were here. They weren't brought over in slave ships. They were here. The people we call Indians were Black. They were here. That's all bull crap. It's all fabricated. And not only that, but this is the old world. The Americas are the old world.
Mm-hmm.
That what is now the Gulf of Mexico, that is now a hole, before it was a hole, that was Atlantis.
Oh.
And he goes into a great deal of detailing about things that were happening up in the Great Lakes before they were Great Lakes, when they were simply rivers. So if you guys are interested in this, the whole who was Black, who was white, I'm going to recommend that you look up Dane Callaway, Calloway, and Korimu Ahu. Let me pull it up on my phone and get the spelling right, because I'm not sure if I say his name right. But this whole thing that Andrew is talking about, these are just astonishing resources. But again, these are not fun little videos. I mean, these are things where you want to pull out a notepad. I mean, I have totally taken notes from both of these guys. But
this is an advanced concept too. People will get mad at you for saying this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So Kurameo Ahu. So that's Kurimeo Ahau. That's the gentleman who identifies as being Quiche, Incan, as we would call it. He lives in Costa Rica. And so these two guys, if you're interested in this, I would say these are the guys to follow. That North America was Egypt. That North America was the Promised Land, right? North America was, well, not North America, but the Americas were Palestine. All of that, what we call Palestine, because Jesus was Black.
Mm-hmm. I was amazed by this information. That's why I had to make these memes. But like I said, it's an advanced concept. If you guys look into this, be ready to drop everything you know.
Yep. Oh, Dane Callaway, unbelievable the things we'll find out. Oh, all the people that have been heralded, fabricated. Harriet Tubman, made up.
Yep. And that's a big part of Western New York too. Harriet Tubman, they still have tours up here in Niagara Falls with the Underground Railroad tours. They promote all that. And that's, I hear that she was just a fabricated thing.
Nat Turner too. They weren't slaves. They weren't slaves. They were indentured servants in many cases. They were trying to buy the land on which they worked.
Yeah, and it's seriously woven into the lore of Western New York, because I heard things like this house or that house was part of the Underground Railroad. So it's seriously a part of Western New York. You know what I mean? That Underground Railroad thing was seriously a big part of Western New York.
Oh yeah, Dane Callaway has made several videos about that. I love these memes, Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've gone over an hour. I'm not very good. I'm not sure when we started, but I think, do you have any more of those memes, or you made those two?
That's it.
Okay.
This is the guy whose theory it is. I can't remember his name though.
Oh, that gentleman right there in the
this guy up here in the corner.
Thumbnail.
I can't remember his name.
He's right. I mean, he's right. I mean, there's more evidence to prove he's right than not.
Yeah.
You have to look at very old paintings. It's like if you look at old maps, if you look at maps from the 1600s, there were no Great Lakes, they were rivers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can't tell me that these guys, if these cartographers were sophisticated enough to note the things that they noted, they couldn't have told the difference between a river and, say, Lake Superior.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, right?
Yeah.
And then just there were castles. There were Moorish castles that we will call Tartaria all over North and South and Central America, all over, that are in these old maps.
Yeah. On islands and on rivers, right?
Ah,
Look at
well,
that one.
they're still in the Thousand Islands. The castles are still in the Thousand Islands.
Yeah, Bolt Castle, and then there's one near New York City that's really weird. The one that they used for an armory. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's
Oh, there's so
definitely.
many.
It
Because
looks like a
I've been
castle.
in the Thousand Islands and there's so many castles.
Mm-hmm.
Not just Bolt and Singer, but there's so many.
Well, they're on the Hudson River too.
Yep, yep. I've been in the Hudson River too. Yep. So yeah, so a lot. Cool.
Yeah, it's an advanced concept, guys. Good luck with it. I gave up talking about it because people got mad at me about
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, Dane Callaway, who is a black man, okay, and he's married to a black woman. It's a black family, right? You know,
it. Mm-hmm.
he calls himself Niji, which he refers to. You know, he doesn't call himself black like, you know, we would call ourselves white. He doesn't call himself black. He refers to himself as Niji. And if he's talking about, he has a picture of a, you know, someone that we would call black, he calls them Niji. And I think that that refers to a dark-skinned indigenous person. I'm not sure exactly what it means, but that's what he calls those people. So he doesn't say Indians, he calls them Niji, but he also doesn't say black folk or African American or African or anything like that. He calls them Niji.
They
And
use
yeah, he gets death threats from all kinds of people. Most of them
no
black.
doubt. Yeah, I bet they use EL when describing themselves too. L.
L.
Mm-hmm. EL. Yeah. EL. It's something to do with their whole thing. I don't know what it is.
I don't either.
It's weird, but it's a great subject. You know, I was on a show where I first saw this guy, and it's called the Galactic Talk with Taino.
Oh, okay. I know the Galactic Talk. Yeah.
Yeah, I was on that show, and I had Taino. He calls himself Taino L. So
Uh-huh.
I had him on my show too, talking about UFOs and stuff.
Hmm.
We were on each other's show. I like that show, Galactic Talk.
Cool. He's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And where's he from? His accent is so interesting.
He's from Montreal.
Oh, okay. I can't really tell because he sounds like, it sounds like, well, I don't think he was born in Montreal. He sounds like he might be from Africa.
No, he's from the islands.
Okay, okay.
You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah. There's a
He's from
little,
the islands.
okay,
Yep, my brother Taino.
cool. So, Andrew, I want to start to wrap this up. What are you working on right now for people?
Oh my goodness. Well, I just had the panty raid.
That was so funny. Oh my God.
Let me
That
show
video was
people.
hilarious.
Let me show you guys real quick. I got it right here.
Oh, so funny.
Hang on, where is
I
it?
mean, whether you believe it or not, this video is just ridiculously funny.
It's funny as hell. I mean, I'm getting so many compliments on it. I'm trying to find my page. I don't like Telegram. Do you?
Well, that's the only social media I'm on, but I don't spend time on social media like you do. There it is, FBI panty raid.
Here it is.
So funny.
Isn't it?
And yeah, and the date. Come on now.
I know, 8/8. Here's the file right here. 8/8. And people are trying to tell me this is fake.
Well, it looks like the FBI was laid over that guy. You know, that looks altered, right?
I don't know. I think the guy's trying on her underwear.
But just the FBI looks like it was photoshopped on. But regardless, I mean, even if this photo is fake, it's hilarious.
Yeah, it is.
Whether it's fake or not, it's so damn funny.
Yeah. It is funny.
Just the whole thing is funny.
But my views, my channel is just blowing up now because of this panty raid.
Well, and Andrew's everywhere, you guys. For those of you who aren't a follower of Andrew, he's on absolutely every freaking social media network there is. I'm not on anything but Telegram and here, Rumble and YouTube. But he's everywhere, and everything is his name, Andrew Zebrun III.
Yep, I'm everywhere, guys. Thanks for all the
Puts
support.
out at least 2 videos a day, and all of them are like, I don't know this boy. He just does research all day. He tells me he goes out and washes his car and does yard work, but I don't believe it, because the amount of information that he jam packs into his oftentimes 2-hour videos, just, he must be an alien with super gamma brainwave function, because the amount of information that he packs into 2 videos a day is insane.
Well, somebody's got to do it.
And he's such a good sport. And, if you've got information, he'll let you come on the show and talk. He's a very good sport that way.
I'm always looking for guests.
So, and for you guys, I'm working on, I have this thing about reset architects and reset engineers. And I'm working on, I did a little video on Bolt Castle. I did a video on Singer Island, Dark Island and Singer Castle. And I'm working on the reset architects that supposedly built Bolt Castle in the Thousand Islands. I love that picture, by the way, that old sandal. I'm working on that for you guys.
What the hell? Get out of here, Joyce. Look at that.
No, I love it.
I saw a footprint in rock like this, the same size. And oh my God, this is
You
triggering.
showed me that
Joyce.
picture. You showed me that picture.
No, I don't have a picture of it, but I saw a footprint in rock down in Zor Valley.
Okay, well then I've seen that picture. Maybe not from you. I have seen that picture.
I wish I had the picture. My God, you would not believe it.
Well, there are giant footprints in South Africa like that on Michael Tellinger's channel. There are giant footprints like that. The Smithsonian has notoriously destroyed a great deal of giant artifacts.
Yeah, my father had a giant friend. He said his friend was so big, he couldn't drive his car. They had to take the front seat out of the car, and his friend sat and drove from the back seat. Now, this was a business coupe from the 1940s. That's how tall this guy was.
Yeah, there were still giants then, what was left of them. And so I'm working on a video on the architects, supposedly the reset architects that supposedly built Bolt Castle bullcrap. And I'm also working on a video, you don't even know this, Andrew, but I'm working on a video about Tesla's Pierce Arrow.
Oh, really? Did you find that page?
I don't know of a specific page you're talking about, but I'm putting together a little video, and after I put it out, it's going to be a quick little one, like this one was, like 10 or 15 minutes without narration. And then after I do it, we'll get together and chat. Oh, and he's showing you all of my videos. We'll get together and we'll chat, because I know you have a lot to say about that.
Yes, I do.
Actually, you were the motivation behind that car, that Tesla's electric Pierce Arrow, that Westinghouse built the engine for, the electric engine for, that he had an antenna that was pulling in the plasma from Niagara Falls. So very interesting. It's just that I get into all the other weird stuff, because you start digging through who was in what club in New York City, and who was a mover and who was a shaker, and who had the money and who was dirty, and who was connected here and who was connected there. And that's all the stuff that I like to get into. I'm going to put that video together. It's just going to be a quick little, 10, 15-minute video with title cards instead of me talking. And then we'll do one of these and get together, and you can talk about that at length. Yeah, the safe was empty. Right. The safe was empty.
They were really after the nuclear football,
I believe that that was true. I mean, if that's what they were doing at all. I mean, there are some people that think that it's all just distraction. Like, how hard do we have to hit you idiots over the head before you wake up? How hard, how hard do we have to hit you over the head?
Yeah.
Anyway, we've been at this for a while. I want to thank all you guys for hanging out with us through this time. Andrew and I are really good friends, and we share information with each other, and we love doing stuff together. If any of you would like, oh, and there's our friend Fiona, who's actually going to be at my house tomorrow night. So we'll give you a call, Andrew, and say hello.
Great.
What was I going to say? If any of you guys, Andrew is just a walking freaking history museum when it comes to Western New York and Buffalo, and I like digging for dirt. So if any of you guys would like us to put our heads together and do a video on something, let us know, because we love to share information and we'd love to do it. So yeah, let us know if there's anything you want us to look into, especially anything around the whole Niagara Erie region. Andrew can get in his car and drive, and we can, and he probably knows about it anyway, because he's a walking freaking encyclopedia of that region. So yeah, if we can do something for you, if you'd like us to look into something, please let us know, because we'd love to do it.
Okay. Thanks for having me, Joyce.
Thank you, my Mintalkin brother. And thanks, guys, for hanging out. We appreciate you. We will see you. We will see you both tomorrow. Go to Andrew's site. I'm sure before he got on the line with me, he probably uploaded a new video. So go check.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. And thank you, Graciel. Good night. Love you.
It's still recording.
I can't. I don't know where it went.
Well, oh, that happens to me all the time. It's down in the sys tray.